Dhani watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Watching My Stories. This is Dhani, and we have a special week this week where we have a couple of guests on the show because unfortunately John is off working this weekend. So I brought on my cousin Courtney and her husband Brian. We all watch a lot of TV and a lot of movies and can get a little obsessive about it. So it makes sense that they would be my first guests on here. And Brian, actually, he's been watching Legion and Westworld and has been wanting me to watch these as well. So basically, he's come on to try and convince me to watch. So when I first talk to them, you'll hear I ask them about their favorite movies and TV shows. I'm going to do that with every guest that comes on because I think it really kind of lets everyone know what they like from the get-go. So we do that, and then we get right into it and talk about Legion, and then Westworld. They also saw Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom, so I asked them about that. They have girls, actually, that are 13 and almost 10. So I asked them if there was anything specific to their view or like, so that they share that since I don't have kids and I don't have that point of view. So they named a few that they've enjoyed, that the kids are watching or that they've enjoyed as a family. And then you'll kind of hear us just ramble a bit about things that are going on or things that we're watching. We kind of just got into our normal conversations that we have and involves a lot of quotes from movies as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. I'm probably going to have them on quite often because we do watch a lot of things and it's always a good conversation with us. This remote interview, so the quality's not great, but I hope you can make up for it with the content. And that's it for this week. So John will be back next week. And I've got a lot of things to talk about at this point, and the Emmy nominations are coming out this week, so that's going to be great. And we'll time when I talk about it. And that's it. So I hope you all have a great week, and thanks so much for listening. All right. Hello, everyone. We have some guests on today. These are my cousins, Brian and Courtney. Hello.
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 Hello. Thank you guys for doing this so much. Since John's working, I didn't want to sit here and talk by myself all day.
Yes.
Unlike you normally do, right?
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So I wanted to have you guys on because obviously I've talked a lot about how, like, in our family, and maybe I'm finding out now, I think it's just us, that TV and movies kind of an obsession. So I know we have lots to talk about, but today I think we're just going to cover a couple things that Brian watches that I know I should be watching, but, you know, I'm going to have you convince me even more. And we usually have the same taste in shows for the most part. So
yes, I agree.
I know if you're watching them, then I'll like them. I just got to get my butt up. So the first thing, though, I want to do, and this might be springing on you guys, is I'm going to ask every guest we have coming on what your favorite movie and TV shows are. So if you can actually drill down, why don't you tell me what those might be?
Do you want to go first?
Well, it all depends. See, I always figure that's a trick question when somebody asks me what the favorite movie is because it changes over time.
Yeah.
My favorite movie probably back in the 90s, I would say something like Barton Fink, which is one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. However, since time has passed, when I rewatch it, I like it, but there might be a more recent movie that I find more interesting or exciting. So, favorite of all time, that's tricky. But recently, it's probably easier to dive in and pick something. Oh. And which one would you prefer? Because I have to think about all time now.
I know it's so tough. I would say just go for. I mean, I'm glad you said Barton Fink, but if there is something that's kind of touched on you since then maybe go ahead and say that too. Or if you have 3 or 4, I'm okay with that.
Let me think for a second. Courtney seems to have.
Okay.
I seem to have something. Well, I like Look, let me be honest. I love the 1980s comedies, action movies.
Yes.
So, love Spaceballs.
Yes. Yes.
Love Clue.
Yes.
Comedies. And action 1980s, I gotta go with Brian smiling. I gotta go with First Blood and Predator.
Yes. Yes. I agree, and I'm not surprised by your answers at all. I knew that.
Thank you.
In the movie realm, if I could pick a few, I would say I would think of movies that probably would surprise or try to like break the rules of regular movie making, or can transport you to some other place, wholly and completely. So I would say if you ask me in the 90s, the Barton Fink, the Blade Runner, and those kind of movies. But since then, there's been some really good things. I liked Inception a lot. I thought that was a good changing the way of telling a story. The whole dream within the dream thing.
Sure.
That goes back to Memento as well, telling it backwards.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
That was really good. And recently, I liked the sequel to Blade Runner because again, I thought it recaptured that feeling, the Blade Runner 2049. But I mean, of favorites of all time, I would usually go to directors then,
Right.
Coen brothers.
Yes.
Although they're hit and miss. When they hit, they do really well. When they miss, they're horrible.
Right.
Goodfellas is a great movie. Could watch over and over again.
Yeah.
I tend to shy away from saying Godfather's the best movie because I don't think it is.
Right.
I shy away from Scarface. It's not even a very good movie.
Right.
But it's hard for me to pinpoint.
I know. It's almost like you need to do decades and genres.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
yeah, I know.
Because to save all time, again, I could go back and watch Fight Club
I was
anytime.
gonna say that.
Yes.
But because I could relive that, and that was such a good storytelling experience. And I could even throw in things like even Sixth Sense and things like that. Anything that
Right.
truly was awesome to
Surprising.
watch the
Yeah.
first time you watched it. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as television,
yes.
Twin Peaks is still both the original and the return. I think is some of the best television ever.
Yes.
That's hard to-
I think I'm not surprised you're saying, because I was like, I wonder if he's going to say Twin Peaks, but yeah, and we haven't really talked about the return much, but I think we both agreed that was just, I don't even know that there are words to talk about it, really. It was the best 18 hours I've ever spent watching television. It was incredible.
Yeah, and my jaw was just dropped for most of watching it. Like just, there's no predicting where that show was going to go or what it was going to do. It was just, again, that idea of breaking the rules of storytelling and complete immersive world that has it both of it.
Yeah. And I had mentioned on here before about when Twin Peaks originally came on, and it was when I was talking about Lost and kind of how I felt that changed television for me. But I went back to Twin Peaks because that did change it for me, because I did get immersed in it, and it was the first time I remembered that, and doing the maps of who killed her and how everyone was related, and and it was really that first experience for me on a television show of caring so much and trying to figure out what was happening.
Yeah, and I you mentioned Lost. Of course, Lost is one of my favorite shows, obviously, and they'll even credit people that say that X-Files and Lost, they'll credit Twin Peaks for creating that must-watch television, and it wasn't just a boring daytime serial or a case of the week kind of Matlock kind of
exactly. Yeah. That's dated, but that's okay.
Well, that's when Twin Peaks came on, right? Matlock, Murder She Wrote.
Oh my gosh, I was gonna say
those were the shows everyone was watching. And all of a sudden, you get into Twin Peaks, and you're like, I can't believe ABC put it on, but I know it was during a writer's strike, so they were kind of desperate for content. But it was, the fact that you put that on television when your choices were Matlock and
which I never watched. But that's okay.
Well, my parents did, so I got to watch.
Oh, okay, good.
But and recently of television, of course, I would say the Westworld, Legion. So that could be a nice segue.
Okay, yeah. Well, Courtney, did you have a TV show?
I think a TV show for me One is going to be obvious, which is Roseanne as sitcom. And then for hour-long shows, I'm going to go back a little bit. I have to say, for me, for some weird reason, The Wonder Years sticks in my head. And My So-Called Life, only because I was really, I think for My So-Called Life, that's the first show that I watched kind of on my own. Had my own TV.
Gotcha.
Could just chill. And then Wonder Years I thought was good because it was kind of a good family thing. And I remember we used to watch it. I forget what night it came on, but we would just sit around and watch it. So those just popped into my head. But My So-Called Life was kind of like my first show that I just watched.
Yeah, I get that. And Jordan Catalano.
Of course.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with my decision. Kidding.
But you do still watch, in this century, TV and movies, right?
Well, we watch, see, I like to laugh. I don't like to be scared.
Yes.
So I love the 30-minute sitcoms.
Right.
I don't, but you know what, like we used to watch Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
And love Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Yeah, there's another one I don't watch.
You watch things.
I watch Stranger Things.
Oh, yes, of course.
But no, I don't like to be creeped out or scared.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
So I shy away from those.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Like the disorienting effect of like watching a Twin Peaks where it's completely keeps you on edge at all times.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I don't like the people
weirdness.
Weird, odd.
Speaking backwards.
That. It's just, I don't, I think you said it earlier, Danny, it's not my cup of tea.
That's right, yes. I don't like tea.
So I will use that.
Good. Okay. Well, good. I just think that asking those questions a lot of times it opens up and lets me know kind of, and lets everyone know where we're coming from and what we like. So that's why I just, I like to ask that. But yeah, let's get into Westworld or Legion. Which one do you wanna start with and convince me?
I think I'll have an easier time convincing you of Legion probably, of watching it. Only because I don't know if the person who created Legion. Do you watch the show Argo?
I watched the first series. I haven't watched any after that.
Did you like it, or was it just not your cup of tea?
I liked it. Let's see how many times we can say that.
There's a lot of tea.
I liked it, and I started the second series, and I don't remember why I didn't continue. It wasn't. I don't think it was because I didn't like it. I think it was like a time issue or something. So. Well,
I will say that the second one was harder. That show seems to be hard because they're starting over. It's like an anthology, so you have to kind of get into characters again. And that second season was harder, I think, because again, you're introduced to all these new characters and you don't know if you like them or not. Like American Horror Story and all those ones where you have to kind of get to know everybody again. But the reason why I brought up Fargo is because the guy who created it, Noah Hawley, I think is how you say his name. He's an interesting guy. He loved the Coen brothers so much he created Fargo. And if you watch the show, what's neat about Fargo is that you either like this or you hate him about him for this. But every episode has some callback, allusion, or something to a different Coen brother movie. Oh. So one episode might be similar to Miller's Crossing. It has just maybe a shot or some type of reference to it, or one would be Barton Fink or Raising Arizona, or something in each episode. He cuts. Obviously, it's based on the Coen brother movies Fargo. And so he liked to kind of reference it, and it's not too over glaring where it's obnoxious, but some people would claim that he's just, stealing their filmmaking techniques. But he did it for a couple of years. He lessened off as I think he has 3 seasons. The third season, there's not so much of that going on. The reason I bring that up is because he created Legion.
Okay.
And what's interesting is nobody talks about that. I haven't read any articles about this, but this is what I see. I see that he sat down and watched Twin Peaks: The Return and probably enjoyed it and said, however, it's not a very accessible show, Twin Peaks. It's they don't answer questions. There's nothing, the story's hard to follow. You don't know what's going on. If you didn't watch the previous show, you're kind of lost. I mean, it's all kind of disorienting, and Lynch, of course, did that on purpose, was to, disorient you and did that. But the techniques he used in that was very interesting. Obviously, he did a lot of cool filmmaking stuff in Twin Peaks. And Noah Hawley, again, I don't think he admits this, but when I'm watching Legion, I see some things that I saw in Twin Peaks. Some of the filmmaking techniques, not the story, of course, but like the little glitchy film thing he did in Twin Peaks. He was visiting that whatever outer space thing he was in. But some of that stuff is in here. So the thing I'll say about Legion is it's one of those immersive shows where, and some people complain it's more style and not enough substance. But the source material, are you familiar with what Legion's about?
Well, I was going to ask, was this a comic book? Not comic book, but,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
graphic novel?
It's a comic book. It's a lesser known character introduced in the 60s, I guess. I didn't know about it till the show came out, but apparently the story is that Legion is the son of Professor X, if you know who that is.
Yeah.
And he has the whole idea behind this mutant, I guess, is that he's got schizophrenia, and in the comics, each one of his personalities has a different superpower. And so he's convinced he's insane when he's younger because he doesn't know how to control all this stuff. And so he spends most of his time in a mental institution. And when he gets out, he wreaks havoc and all that. He's kind of not always the good guy. He's kind of one of those comic book person that, like Catwoman, which sometimes helps and sometimes doesn't, kind of thing.
Okay.
But on the show, they kind of re-envisioned the character as I think he liked the idea of an insane superhero. So and he's a very powerful one at that. And so if you can get past the idea that it's a superhero show, as a matter of fact, it doesn't really even play up like superhero. There's not many other superheroes in here. It's not like he's teaming up with, Magneto and doing something. None of those characters have been mentioned.
Okay.
They barely reference his father because only one person knows who his father is. So they barely reference it. Really, the only other superpowers you see are a couple of other people that have some interesting and unique talents. But the reason to watch the show is not the plot.
Right.
It's far more accessible than Twin Peaks, but it's basically an insane superhero. It starts off with him in a mental institution. It starts off there, and the style he does for the show, though, I think is spot on. I mean, you get immersed into it, and it's very disorienting. It's fun to watch. You don't really know what's going on, and as the characters evolve, you start to see things twist. And it's only been 2 seasons, and the end of the second season I didn't see coming, and it's lots of questions. But just to watch it, I'll tell you, in the beginning of the second season, there's a dance sequence, which I had seen in the previews for it, and I was kind of like, oh god, is this going to go off the rails now? This is going to be good.
A dance sequence.
But I've watched that dance sequence now 3 or 4 times because the music is amazing. It's the same guy. I think it's the same guy who does the music for Stranger Things. Is musical guy in here, but it's I would say visually and just, again, it's not about superheroes. It's about this guy finding out who he is, and yes, there's a couple of superhero elements to it, but I don't know how without revealing anything.
I know
plot points. Nemesis, there's a bad guy. But the filmmaking is amazing.
Right.
I tried to get Courtney to watch it, and she made it through the first half, and she was creeped out because there's some creepy things in there.
There's a movie that I always reference. It's the only movie I've ever walked out in my own home. It was Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, yeah.
She couldn't make it to the end.
And I couldn't. I walked out.
Yeah, that's the best part.
I know, the music, everything is crazy.
Yeah, I was having a meltdown, heart attack. I had to get out. I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Okay.
Airplane reference. So I couldn't. So this Legion thing, I just couldn't. It brought me back to Requiem for a Dream. I just couldn't take it. And I apologize because I can't get into it. It sounds great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my cup of tea.
So,
yeah.
So I tried it. I taped the first one, and I know I got probably 20 minutes into it. I don't remember any of it though, so I must not have been paying attention. Like I must have put it on when I was working, and then after that I got behind and just said, oh well, I guess I'm not going to get back and watch that. So I wanted to watch it just because of who's in it. I love Dan Stevens and I love Aubrey Plaza, and so that was. But now hearing the actual story, and the superhero thing doesn't throw me off. I watch Arrow and Flash and Supergirl and all that stuff. So that actually kind of even pulls me in a little bit, even if it's not really the highlight. So I guess it's probably one that I can't watch doing something else, obvious. I mean, I have a very limited number of shows that I have to stop and sit and watch, and this sounds like that, in order to appreciate the visuals.
Yeah, I have to watch it. Yeah, I turn all the lights off. I have the downstairs in the theater. I have the sound is immersive. I mean, I can't do anything else. And I will admit, the first episode, Courtney only got about 20 minutes into it, and even me, the first couple episodes, I was doing the same thing. I was just watching it, like I want to watch this. It wasn't really the must-see TV it came to be for me.
Okay.
It did take a couple of episodes when I realized, wow, this is stunning. And I think when he got into it, and it was like, this is really nice. And so that's when, and I felt bad because I would watch it when I was tired, and I get mad at myself. I'm like, I really should have been more awake for that, because it's almost hypnotic. And if you're kind of tired, you're going to be kind of just drawn into this. Sometimes there's sequences that are like, 4 or 5 minutes long with no dialogue. It's just all those visuals that you're seeing. So,
okay.
I would suggest really trying. It seems like something you'd like. I mean, I think about everything else you like. Again, it's like trying to watch Twin Peaks in the background. You can't really do that.
Right. Okay. I'm sold. I will start, and I'll give it a good 3 or 4 episodes before I really decide if I'm not going to do it. But that sounds good. I'm excited now. Now I really do. And it's weird how I didn't even know the story at all before. So.
I didn't before. I didn't either. I read something on online saying, "Oh, Legion's coming out. It's a superhero." And I was watching things like The Gifted. I watch those. I don't watch like the Flash and Arrow and all that stuff. But I see it pop up, but I didn't know it was created by this guy who did Fargo. I just saw it was another. And I always say I don't like a lot of cable shows. There's certain networks good, AMC, and now I'm starting to like FX because I used to watch The Strain and those kind of shows, and so. I didn't watch it until after the season was over, and I had taped them all, and I'm like, I'll start watching these now. And so it was it took me a while to get into it, because same thing, I didn't really know what it was until I watched it.
Yeah. Okay. That's.
You gonna? Hey, Danny, are you gonna rewatch the first one?
The first season? Yeah.
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 You start over because you need
they need to see it from the beginning.
Okay.
The Clockworks thing, they're gonna reference a lot in future episodes. You kind of want to know what's going on.
Yeah, I'll definitely go back. And it's not a long season, right? Is it just 10 or 14?
It's 10 episodes. No, maybe it's 10 or 12. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not very long. Like Lost, when I'm finding out it's 24 episodes.
I know. Rewatching, we're all rewatching that now, everyone. So we're kind of looking at a long time of getting into this to finish all of that. But
you can't watch trying to watch all of Game of Thrones. It's 50 episodes. You gotta watch the other shows.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So Westworld, moving on to Westworld, same thing. I think I've watched the first 2. Again, I thought it was something that I was going to want to watch, and now I know what happens. So going into the second season, because you can't avoid a lot of this stuff, I know what's happened. So now my big thing is it still worth watching when I know what's coming?
I'd say yes. This might be a little bit harder to convince you of, but did you ever see the movie?
No.
So there's a movie made in the 70s.
Is that with Yul Brynner?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I watched it. It's a horrible movie. It's only like 80 minutes long. It's not very good. But it's the simple concept of, the robot uprising.
Right.
And that it was it's the same amusement park, and the robots go bad. I think The Simpsons had an episode based on this, right? They go to the Itchy and Scratchy Land and all the robots go bad.
Right.
It's true. It's a great episode.
It's a good episode. But so oddly enough, I knew how this show was going to turn out, and I hope I didn't spoil anything. But the movie's been out forever. It's not about what's happening in the show. It's about why and how, I think.
Okay.
And again, maybe I didn't do this on purpose, but when I mentioned Twin Peaks and all that stuff, and I talked about Fargo, This was created by Jonathan Nolan and
really?
Jonathan, which is the brother of Christopher Nolan, right?
Yeah.
And he created Person of Interest, which I love that show and all that. But I think Christopher Nolan has some executive producer credit, but I think it's mainly Jonathan Nolan and I can't remember who the other person is. I think it's a lady who's producing it with him. But he talks about, and I don't know if you know, Jonathan Nolan helped write Memento and those early things. Yeah. And so the reason to watch Westworld is to be a filmmaker here is the non-linear storytelling. It is completely busted apart, and by only watching 1 or 2 episodes, you wouldn't know this yet.
Okay.
But without revealing too much, everything you see on screen is not necessarily happening in It's not happening in chronological order. So it's a massive puzzle as to figure out. So when you're watching it, you have to. It takes a couple episodes to start to figure this out, and then they'll give you these key reveals when you'll be like, oh my god, I didn't know that. It's the we have to go back episode. It's the you didn't realize that until you see it. So it's how they're unfolding the story, and the guy who created the parks, the guy who plays by Anthony Hopkins is the guy who created the park, and
right.
Ford, I think is his name on the show, but to figure out what his motivations were and what's going on and what you know what happens in the show, but that's not really, again, if you had seen the movie, you kind of already know what's going to happen.
Okay.
But then you find out, I know, because I feel bad, because I won't say it here, but Jonathan Nolan was in an interview or whatever, and he admitted kind of like what the end game of the whole idea of the series was.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I now kind of I know what he's doing now, and I kind of wish I didn't, so I won't say it now, but it's interesting to see, especially it's the storytelling, I think, is the acting's really good, everything's all that, and you have to kind of be into that. The nice thing about it is it has the Western feel to it, so if you can if you like that or you don't like that, but then at the same time they cut to their control center, which is all super futuristic. So you get kind of this sci-fi Western going on that's good. But I would say the reason to watch it is because to me it's I didn't realize. So I'm always trying to figure out, all right, what am I watching now? The question always becomes, when is this to me?
Right.
Like, when is this going on? Because it's not told in order. And the second season, you don't, and I'll tell you that you don't really know that at the beginning of the first season. You don't really start to see that till near the end. So I don't want to spoil that for you, but knowing it's out of work in the second season, they take the fact that you know that and completely run with it. So the second season is even harder to follow. I mean, it's amazingly hard to follow. But that's kind of I enjoy that challenging viewing as opposed to passive. I just want to sit here and make me laugh or scare me or something like that. So it's a very active viewing experience.
Right.
No, that's not for me. I'm the latter.
Yes, we know. So still needing to go back and watch from the beginning. You're saying it gets not more confusing, but that's probably the word more people would use in the second season. But does that make it more compelling and it's keeping you going? Like you're still ready for it and excited to watch it every week?
Yeah. They have enough characters in there where you're always wondering what their motivation is. Okay. I mean, some of them are pretty obvious, but some of them I'm still questioning. I mean, what are they up to?
Right.
There's enough. They introduce enough characters both in the key is you have these robots and you have real people and you have what's motivating each other and that's where I think the dynamic starts to come into play. And I wouldn't say it's fun to watch. There are some frustrating things on the show. I can't say it's perfect or anything like that. Okay. There are still some storylines like, well, what are they doing there? So it's not like it's 100% A+ show, but I think the effort they're taking is worth the watching. Is that it makes me want to go back and watch some of the early ones, but they fill you in enough to not necessarily need to do that. But the idea that's introduced very early on in the show, so I'm not spoiling anything here, is that these robots, it's like an amusement park. So every time you go there, they're in a loop. The robots do the same thing every day, so that when you're a guest at the park, it's sort of like watching the Hall of Presidents at Disney World. They say the same thing with every group that comes in. Okay. So here, these robots reenact the same basic day over and over again until a guest of the park interacts with them, and they might take them off their what they call the loop. But then once that guest is done doing whatever they're doing, they get reintroduced. They go back to doing the exact same thing every day. So that's how they can play with time. Is since these robots They don't age, and they don't do anything, and they're doing the same thing every day. You don't know when is this, because you're seeing the same thing play out, especially the first couple episodes. You start seeing the same scene play out over and over again, but there's minor details that are changing, so you have to kind of start to figure out, well, what's really going on here. So again, that's introduced really early on. Again, that active viewing. That if you're just, if you're, cleaning house or, you surfing the web while you're watching it, you're going to miss quite a bit of detail. Anyway, cool. I recommend it. I recommend Legion more because I think it's more of an art piece.
Right.
Legion. Westworld, I think, is just a very engaging story.
Okay. Well, I know John wanted to watch Westworld, and every time we still see it, he's just like, I think we still need to give that a try. So that seems like it's more his speed and his type of thing, that maybe it is something we can watch, while we're having dinner, and then I can watch Legion on my own. So so we'll try that. Okay, cool. I hadn't talked to anyone who had watched them, so I hadn't really heard kind of the real ins and outs of it. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, I recommend them both. I try to. The only person I know watching them is my mother, so so I could talk to her about it, but I can't talk to anybody else about the shows. But my mom watches everything. She would be up there but she watches everything. So,
yes.
The good, bad, though. Yeah.
Right, I know. Yeah. Okay. Cool. You just finished Glow. Did you finish the second season?
I did. I just finished the second season.
And so you like it?
Yeah, I do. I like it. I like it. One, I like the fact that it's only like a half hour, 35 minutes, so it goes quick. And I think the acting's good. I think it's
fun.
It's fun. Yeah, it's an enjoyable show. That's a show that Courtney could watch.
Totally.
Because it's not scary. It's not creepy.
Right. And it's 80s.
It's all 80s.
Well, we watched the original Glow.
Oh, really?
Glow in the 80s.
Yeah.
You would watch the actual wrestling going on. Mm-hmm. Gosh, I don't even know what channel it was on. DC 20 or
syndicated, so
something like that. 50. I want to say channel 50. We watched the real one, but that's when wrestling was at its height in the 80s. They had the wrestling cartoon.
Yes.
They had everything. I would watch 2 hours of wrestling in the morning, and then the cartoon before the wrestling. So I actually watched Glow. So I didn't quite get into
you might actually like this show.
TV show.
I think you would. I didn't watch Glow. I watched wrestling. I don't know. Do you remember I had a poster of Hulk Hogan in my room on my wall?
Yes. Were you a little Hulkster?
I was. Oh my god, I loved him. Yeah, but I didn't watch Glow, so this was new to me. I've gone to YouTube to watch some of the clips.
Yeah,
it's definitely a different aesthetic than what we're watching on Netflix. But
I didn't watch it either, and I had no idea.
What channel is it on?
It's a Netflix show.
Oh.
But I never watched Glow either. I didn't watch any wrestling really. I caught it every once in a while. But I never watched it. And watching the show, I didn't realize they had all these skits in there, and they were trying to be funny. So I went back and that they made that documentary which kind of inspired this show. That there's a Glow documentary they made back in 2012.
Okay.
Which I watched because I never watched the show. So I watched the documentary to get an idea of, what was it really? Is the show really going true to form? The show is taking a lot of creative liberties about the show, which is fine. I don't care because I never watched it. But I went back and watched that documentary, and a lot of it's it lines up nicely. But I wanted to go back and see what it was like. I didn't know they had these, like they said, they have skits and they're trying to be funny, which I'm sure they weren't. But that's what's. And they don't focus on that on the show. The show's mainly about the characters. Not the characters.
Behind the scenes,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, and Mark Maron's great, and
good.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. And Courtney, I think you'd really like it. It's just fun. It is, and it does take you back to. They've done a great job on the hair and the clothes and the music. Anything else you want to talk about that you're watching that you're enjoying?
It's the doldrums on television. It's hard to, I watch Big Brother and those kind of shows, but I'm looking forward to there's the returning series I'm looking forward to. Mr. Robot comes on. I watched that, and I'm still waiting for Man in the High Castle. I don't know if you watched that one.
I didn't. You watched that? I didn't know that.
I did. It took me a while. I didn't watch it until after the second season, right before the second season came out, I said I've heard so many good things about it. I finally broke down and watched it, and I really liked it. But it's been almost a year and a half, and they just announced they renewed for season 4, and they haven't even released season 3 yet. So it's a good one. I do enjoy that. But
Okay.
Mr. Robot's up there with. I don't know if you watched that one, but that's
another one. I think I did most of the first season, and somehow it died off. And I knew what again, it was the whole Fight Club, feel and stuff. And I enjoyed it, but it died off for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, it got a little bit. It's a little weaker now, but I still enjoy it. It's one of those shows that I'm like, I don't really feel like watching it, but when I watch it,
it's great.
I really enjoy watching it.
Yeah.
But that's not something that I'm like, but I know it's coming back. But
yeah.
That's it.
Are you interested? Do you have HBO, the Amy Adams series that starts Sharp Objects? I'm looking forward to that.
What's that about?
Yeah, that starts Sunday.
Yeah, it's a dark one, Courtney. It might not be for you.
Well, the guy who did.
Is she having a me party? Party just for one?
Did you watch? What was that other?
Is there any singing? Are there any Muppets?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think in the 3rd episode.
Yes, yeah.
Then count me in.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it about?
Well,
I like Amy Adams.
Did you watch Big Little Lies?
Yes, loved Big Little Lies. It's the same director, right?
Right. When HBO said we want to do season 2 of Big Little Lies, he said, no, I only wanted to do 1 season.
Oh,
right.
You can do it without me.
Right.
And so he said, but I want to do this show, and he did Sharp Objects instead.
Right.
So.
And it's a Gillian Flynn novel, right? Who did Gone Girl and Girl on the Train, and so yeah, I think it's dark, but I hope it's good. I'm looking just because it's him and I love Big Little Lies. I'm gonna check it out.
I am too. I am looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But that's Sunday. It starts Sunday.
The Lies or the
Sharp Objects.
Okay.
Big Little Lies does come back soon.
But are they replacing all those famous
No,
stars?
they're all back. They're all back.
Yeah, and they added Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, of Silkwood fame. Yes, of Silkwood fame. In case you didn't know her,
that's a great
look up Silkwood.
Look, every time I drive at night,
yes,
it's mirror reflects on the eyes.
Yes,
it's Silkwood. It's Silkwood. You can't tell me it's not Silkwood.
Right. I get it. I remember that was one of the first times I ever got shook from watching that last scene and all of that, because I probably watched it very young and I was just like, what happened? It just freaked me out.
Well, in the scrubbing, in the shower, the poor woman would walk through that thing and the bells, the sirens would go off, and there they go, scrubbing her. Yeah. How sad.
How sad. Courtney, anything you want to talk about you're watching?
What am I watching?
Besides Lost, we've been watching shows. What did we? Is there a show we just finished watching?
Well, we watched. We're watching Lost, and we've been watching a lot of movies.
Yeah,
we watched a ton of movies. We watched Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
Oh yeah, how was that? Because I'm probably not going to see it. So tell me. How was that?
I really can't talk about it.
Sad.
It's too emotional, but I don't want to spoil anything.
No, so it's okay to spoil it, because here's the thing. I read about a scene that people were having problems with, and that's why, because I was like, I'm going to watch it when it comes out, and I'll watch it from home. And then I read about the scene with the brontosaurus, I think, or something on the island.
Brachiosaurus.
Brachiosaurus. Yes, sorry, Brachiosaurus, R.I.P. And I was like, oh, I can't watch that. So I will not be partaking. But is that the scene you're talking about?
Yes.
I didn't read anything about it because I don't like to read a lot of stuff before I go see a movie. Yeah. I thought this was going to be Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom and exciting, which it was for the most part. Then this scene comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And sobbing.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about a small tear forming, I've got something in my eye. Yeah. Sobbing.
Yeah.
Uncontrollable sobbing. I can't. I even would read the articles about it, and I'd well up, can't flames.
Flames.
Heaving gross. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much for. Now I've asked people at work, and one coworker went to see it. She didn't cry, and of course, what you can cry, and
No,
it's like friends. I wrote you a letter from the dead.
Right.
It was tough, but I thought the movie was Jurassic Parkish.
I'd say the first half of the movie is, to me, was more exciting,
right.
And the special effects are amazing.
Okay.
After the poor Brachiosaurus meets his timely end.
Oh.
The second half of the movie, where they're kind of drawing the story out to, it was okay. The effects are fine and all that, but I thought the what happens, the islands, the volcano on the island and all that are more impressive, and it's really action. It's really crazy. It ends with this emotional, ending. And then after that, it's almost like that should have been the ending of the movie. It's like, oh my God, that would have been, and then, okay, now I got to do this other stuff. But it was only like the first 45 minutes of the movie.
But I agree with you. I think they're setting up for another one.
Oh, definitely.
Well, what I heard was that after credits, did you guys stay for the after credits?
Yeah.
And so it's the flying ones, and they're in Vegas now.
Okay. So we're watching the end credits, right?
Yeah.
And these pterodactyls, or whatever their names are, they hone in on this top of this tower, but that's all you see, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden we're watching the credits, and we're like, it's the Eiffel Tower, blah blah. So all of a sudden, Brian's watching it, and they're panning out, and we think it's the Eiffel Tower. So oh my gosh, they've made it to Paris. They're in Europe, and so all of a sudden Brian says, "Oh, it's King's Dominion."
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Yes.
If they've taken this to King's Dominion.
That would be the best. But however,
it
was not the real Eiffel
Where
Tower.
were they? They were in,
Vegas.
like you said, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That was close.
You were close. Yeah.
And I think you see blue somewhere, but
Arizona or something like that.
The dinosaurs are all over because they've been transported. But I don't want to. I've given away too much.
No, that's it. Now you don't have to watch it. Sad. Dinosaurs everywhere.
It was a tough scene. I will admit, it's tough.
So I could possibly do like a half hour skip, maybe 20-25 minutes, and then because I don't want to see.
You'll know when to skip. They draw this thing out. It's like a 5-minute sequence, so you can see when it's starting to happen. You could just say, okay, I could tell what's about to happen here, and you could just
Okay.
But yeah, they draw that thing out. It's drawn out, so they get maximum.
It is. It's
water.
But
awful.
That's experience. Awful. I know if you want to experience something like that, because again, now that it's out there and people are eating, but God, we didn't know. Had no clue. No.
I probably should have said something to you, but I think you said you were going to say it like that day, and I had.
Yeah.
I just, I can't, you can't watch children being hurt. I can't watch animals being hurt. And even though I know it's computer generated, I can't help it.
Well, it isn't. It's real.
Well, that's what my mom always says. But Juliana was sobbing, with this poor dinosaur die.
Sure.
But then later on we see a person getting ripped in half, and
Yeah.
He was a bad guy.
So he gets chewed up and eaten. All these dinosaurs eating people. That's not sad. It's the sad Brachiosaurus.
That's how I am. I could care less about the people. Just don't hurt the animals.
Yeah. Even the computer animals.
I was ridiculed. I was ridiculed because it wasn't real. And I said, it's real.
It's real. We buy it. I buy it.
Yes. Well, that's a suspension of disbelief, right? Isn't that what movies is all about?
That's right. That's right. So speaking of the kids, because I don't have kids and I'm not watching kids stuff, is there anything that they're watching that maybe other people would want to know that their kids could watch and stuff? Anything specific to them?
Well,
we talked about the two that they recommended was the one that takes place in France, Miraculous Ladybug.
Oh yeah, the TV show on Netflix.
Yeah, it's cartoon.
It's Netflix, okay.
Yeah, they love that.
And then the second one, which they don't quite recommend for little kids. It's Troll Hunters.
Right. That's that Guillermo del Toro produced.
Yeah. I've seen that. Is that so? Okay, I've never watched that, but it always looked interesting to me.
I've seen a couple episodes. It's well done. It is action packed. I'll say that. I don't know the whole story, but when they're watching it, I've caught some of it.
Troll Hunters.
The Troll Hunters and Miraculous Ladybug is.
I'm geared more towards that one.
It seems to be fun. It's a fun little cartoon. It takes place in France, and that's kind of it's actually a French cartoon that they redubbed, I believe, into America. But it's
cute. Okay.
And the fact that we have, after, when they get a little bit older, we've got them fully immersed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Good.
They've seen every one of them. Maybe they haven't seen, like, Thor 2 or something like that. But we're looking forward to Ant-Man and the Wasp. They saw the Avengers. They're all caught up in all that. So
and Wasp is in Lost.
That's right.
That was a bonus.
Yes. Really making a double feature.
Yes. I had to watch Ant-Man again last night just to remind myself, because it was one that I haven't watched over and over out of the whole universe. Right. So I watched it again last night, and I'm hoping to go Monday or Tuesday to see that. So, so hopefully that'll be. I've heard it's like really funny and
really
entertaining.
Good.
So,
well, we just watched Ragnarok a few weekends ago.
Love it.
Just the laughter and fun.
Yes.
And so that's what I like, the liners and stuff like that. But I think we're going to try and see Ant-Man and Wasp maybe next week.
Yeah, it might be another week.
Another week or two.
Yeah, so the crowds go away. Yeah. I hear that. And what about, I'm still halfway through Lost in Space. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't even know that I'm halfway through. I think I'm still on episode 4. I never got back to it after I recommended it to you.
Well, thank you.
So it does stay entertaining enough to keep watching. Like I can go back and finish that, and it'll be good.
Yes, there are some definite shows that you're on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, I like.
I like it. It's good, and I like the family members, and
but Parker Posey was getting on my nerves.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
It wasn't just me.
It's a little frustrating.
Okay.
And you get more Parker Posey.
It's
so
interesting.
That's going to be an issue.
Did you ever watch the original show?
No.
The original Lost in Space?
No,
I didn't.
I used to watch it a bit when I was a kid, and it's interesting what they did with Dr. Smith because he was always their foil. He was stuck with them, but the way they changed it, not just make it a female, but the idea that the whole psychology thing they're trying to play up as opposed to Dr. Smith on the show, which was just, you always wondered, why is he sabotaging things? He's going to die too. But so it was interesting the way they changed the character, but I think she's intentionally supposed to be annoying and you're not supposed to like her.
Well, success.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is sad because I actually really like her. So I was surprised I was so annoyed. But okay, cool. And I haven't even seen if there's a second season coming. So
there is.
Okay.
It was we were at the very end. We were like, because you're like, what?
But yeah, Netflix did announce they are renewing it. Because I was worried because.
Did you get that?
Yes. What?
I was worried because it was getting mixed reviews. A lot of people were saying it was like an unnecessary remake, and I was thinking, well, half the things they remake nowadays are unnecessary, but was it okay to watch? And it was good for the family. I mean, it is good for younger kids. There's not too much violence. There's some intensity, but it's
pretty clean.
It's pretty clean. It's pretty straightforward. So I think it's a pretty good family sci-fi, and so I'm glad they renewed it. But it seems very expensive. Netflix has billions of dollars, I know, but I can't believe they put that together.
The money that there's, even when I watch Glow, I'm like, the money for the clothes and the sets and
rebuild history.
Yeah, I mean, they're spending, I can't even imagine the budgets that they're spending. So then talk about The Crown and all that, like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing how much they're willing to spend.
Yeah I don't know, is there anything else you guys want to touch on?
I think that was it in terms of TV and movies.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some things I always have floating around. I just can't think of it now. But
we have a huge movie summer list.
Oh, good.
Movies that we want to watch, and it's good because we go around and we say, okay, do you want to watch this? Well, no, not really. So that allows people to go forward and watch on their own if they want to.
Yeah.
That was good. Then we kind of bring it back together and say we want to watch this and that.
Trying to go for some old trilogies and things like that. Like,
We
watched the first 3 Bourne movies. Yeah. We're trying to go back and watch some of it. And I finally got Juliana hooked on Back to the Future. She kept on saying she didn't see it because she doesn't know what it is. So we watched, it was on TV yesterday, so we watched about 20 minutes of it. And she goes, I want to watch that. I said, good. Now we're going to watch that because I like that trilogy.
Good.
Yeah.
You can move on.
Yes.
Without me.
What?
Yes, Courtney's not a fan of the Back to the Future.
I like the first 2. I didn't like the one in the West.
Well,
I'm not a big Western person.
Yeah, I'm not either. It's not the best, but you kind of you have to at least see
you have to watch
right.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
But going back to find those older trilogies.
Yes, the educational films of yesteryear.
Yes.
Yes.
The days of yore?
Yes.
Then we need to do the Rockies, or we can just skip the Rockies.
Oh.
Rocky IV, the best Rocky.
Rocky 4.
Did you know that Creed 2, have you seen the trailer for Creed 2?
I have.
Okay, so check out who he's fighting. He's fighting Ivan Drago's son.
Yeah. Is he really?
Yes.
I didn't even see that. I didn't pick that up. I'm excited for that, though.
You sound intrigued.
Oh, of course I am. That is the best one. So.
And it's the best soundtrack. I'll let everybody know. Rocky IV.
Living in America, is that the song?
Well, of course it's James Brown, Living in America. Yes, who just had a birthday not too long ago.
Oh, okay.
He's 72.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. Rocky and John Rambo turned 72.
Oh my God, you're going to kill me. I didn't even know his first name was John.
Oh. Yeah. Rambo, John Jay?
See, I'm not a huge fan, so, I think I've only seen the first one. I don't think I've seen any of the others.
That's a good one. First one is a good one.
Yeah. I don't remember any of it.
I like the recent one, Rambo. The one that came out 10 years ago, Rambo. I like that one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
Rambo 3.
They made the newer one. Wasn't it just called? It was called
Rambo. It's just called Rambo.
Really?
Yeah, it came out
remember that.
10 years ago.
Yeah,
he goes back to Cambodia or something like that.
Yeah, he was in Thailand, one of those countries.
Yeah.
And Rambo 3 was my least favorite. Rambo First Blood Part 2 is
First Blood Part 2.
Yeah, I love how it goes First Blood, and then the next one was called Rambo First Blood. It was called Rambo First Blood Part 2, and the third one's just called Rambo 3. Like, they dropped the whole First Blood Part 3. It was just Rambo 3.
You drew First Blood, not me.
Oh my gosh. Is anyone else upset about the casting for the Top Gun sequel?
I'm not looking at all. My head is physically turned away from the microphone.
Goose has a son.
Goose has a son, and I'm very angry that it's Miles Teller.
Which movie was he in? See
Miles,
the one, the drumming movie?
Yes.
The drum movie?
Yes.
The one with the guy, the driving?
He was fantastic.
Shailene Woodley. Was what? Oh, no, that's not Baby Driver, no.
I like Baby Driver guy.
He was Reed Richards in the remake of Fantastic Four. I didn't see that.
Right, yeah. I just don't like him, and he is always kind of a mean guy, and Goose's son better not be a mean guy, or I'll be angry. So we'll see. But
is
I'm excited.
Meg Ryan gonna be in it?
I have no idea. I haven't seen anything else about it.
Yeah.
No. It's like G.I. Joe. I just can't watch some of those things. Those remakes.
Oh, they're making a He-Man live action movie.
With Dolph Lundgren?
No. And it comes out the same day as the the next Star Wars movie and some other movies coming out at the same time. Oh, the sequel to Jumanji is coming out right around then too.
So who's in Top Gun?
All they have confirmed is Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer, and Miles Teller.
Yeah.
Where is Charlie? Codename Charlie. That's Kelly McGillis.
Oh,
What about Slider?
I think I heard she might show up. I don't know. I think I heard something about her, but I don't remember what.
Yeah, Tim Robbins is in it.
Yeah.
You had Slider, Sundown, Viper, Tom Skerritt.
And yet she still won't watch it, so.
No,
What's that about?
You can't touch classics.
They're not remaking it. It's a sequel.
It's a sequel.
It's a sequel.
Interesting. You never leave your wingman.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, we will definitely do this again if you guys are up for it. We'll definitely.
This was fun.
Yeah, I think we could do this, and we watch enough stuff in a short amount of time. We'll always have stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for including us. I had a good time. Thank you.
It was very fun. Thank you.
Of course, I appreciate you guys doing this, and I now have a lot of television to go and watch.
Yes. Please follow up and let us know what you think of these shows if you actually watch them.
Oh, for sure. I will.
And I'll get Courtney to watch Glow.
Yes, that would be great. You'll love it.
Ladies of Wrestling.
Yes. All right. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Danny.
you.
Appreciate it.